Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. I am in my portable, is that the word? My moving sweat lodge. I am Native American, so they say. Kiowa and Blackfoot as far as I know, but I don't know. I got to sitting here one day, and I was like, as hot as it's been in Kentucky, and I keep the windows up, except cracked over here, you can see. And I smoke like a freight train. I'm like, I'm making a sweat lodge in here. I ain't gonna do an update on this episode because I've got a shit ton to cover. And by the way, I got my notes here, but this is all off the cuff. So if I'm not completely read up on the details, you'll have to bear with me, but it will make sense, and I do know what I'm talking about. I just might not have the scientific facts and the scientific terminology down packed. Another disclaimer too. This will be getting into politics. I know it sucks. So far, I haven't had any complaints on anyone saying, like, why are you getting into politics so much? Well, for one, there's a lot of stuff going on politically, and one thing that people are going to have to get over with conspiracy theories and the conspiracy genre in general, if you don't like paranormal, if you don't like ufology, if you don't like true crime, and if you don't like politics, then I don't really know what to tell you, because those are all important pieces to conspiracy, and you're missing out if you don't like any of those. Just saying, because they all tie together. So, basically we're going to be talking about genetically modified mosquitoes. And we're going to be talking about Florida and Hawaii. So pay attention if you're in those states. There's a lot going on in Hawaii. I wanted to honestly cover just Hawaii in general, the whole fires and the blue beam and the dew, all that jazz. Maybe one day we'll do like a whole deep dive on that. And I still believe that it's something that should be talked about, but is not. Everybody cares about Israel and Ukraine, and for some reason we've forgotten about Hawaii, and it's never talked about anymore. I seen some dude literally earlier this week, a customer came in, and he had on a Lahaina t-shirt, talking about the fires and shit, and if I wasn't on the clock, I would have went up and shook the dude's hand and been like, thank you so much for wearing that t-shirt, because no one is talking about Hawaii. Like, still, to this day. When it happened, they talked about it for like a week, and that was it. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, why is no one talking about this except for conspiracy channels, you know? But anyways, let's talk about Ron DeSantis. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Early on in the presidential race, I had an order of people. And I actually switched up a lot of who I wanted to vote for. So, first person I heard was obviously Donald Trump. Donald Trump was going to run again. So, for me in my head, it was Donald Trump versus Biden. So obviously I'm choosing Trump. I was a Trump supporter again, even though I had voters' regret and I had some frustration with Trump, and I still do. Then I heard DeSantis was running. So I left the Trump train and joined the DeSantis train. By the way, for all you people wanting to cause drama, it's L-theanine. I'm not a pill popper, not anymore. By the way, I wasn't a pill popper, I was a pill snorter. Ah, yeah, baby. Straight to the brain. Then I jumped on the DeSantis train. Then I heard about this guy named Vivek Ramaswamy. And I was like, who the fuck's this dude? Started looking into him. I liked him. I liked what he was saying better than DeSantis and Trump. So then I jumped on the Ramaswamy train. Then I found out RFK Jr. was running, and I was already keeping up with RFK Jr. on interviews before he ran for president. I liked him already, and people were asking him, will you ever run for president? And I don't remember his answer, if it was yes or no or maybe, but I liked him from then. I was like, oh dude, I like this guy, because I've always had an interest in the Lincoln family and the Kennedy family. I've just always been super interested in both of those political dynasties. And as soon as I heard RFK Jr. was running, I was RFK all the way. And by the way, I came up with that slogan, I think. I don't know. Maybe he already came up with it, but if he didn't, that's my slogan. Start using it. Just give me credit for it. RFK all the way. But here's some things I like and dislike about DeSantis. So let's talk about DeSantis for a little bit. DeSantis, I love what he did with Florida, and I'm from Florida, so there is a little bit of that bias of liking DeSantis. I love what he did during COVID. You know, to me, I felt like he was bucking the system and shit. But here's what I don't like. Like, apparently he passed some crazy ass bill where he was censoring free speech against Israel, labeling it as anti-Semitism and shit. And I don't like any censorship. I'm a constitutionalist at the end of the day. I don't like the Constitution fucked with. So that pissed me off. Now, when I was younger, when I was a super liberal punk in high school, I ain't gonna lie, I was young and dumb, and I always tried to be vulnerable on this channel and tell you my past mistakes. Politically, I was an anarchist, and not gonna lie, there's parts of me that kind of go back to anarchy still to this day. I've never completely shaken myself free from the whole anarchist mindset. But I was super liberal. I was a big Obama supporter, even though I couldn't vote. And I actually was one of those people who was pro censorship of speech. We labeled it hate speech. Little did I know that I was on the wrong team, and I was actually plotting and supporting my own constitutional downfall. And there is a part of me that's like, dude, we couldn't have seen this. We couldn't have seen the future. Like I said, young and dumb. We couldn't have seen that it would be used against us. Yeah, I just have no excuse, but I was just young and fucking dumb. So I reap what I sow on censorship, and honestly, I was a part of it on supporting that shit. And I mean, to this day, there's parts of my philosophy that I still don't disagree with. Like, I believe that we should not be racist. I believe that we should not be homophobic. I believe that we shouldn't just go around saying faggot or N-word, or, you know what I mean? But I don't think that, I think you should be allowed to say it, whether it's right or wrong. Just saying. I don't think there should be laws or constitutional restrictions ever. But so I don't like that about DeSantis. Let me get my little notepad. It'll be easier. My handy dandy notepad. I don't know why I used to hate Blue's Clues because my little brother loved it, and I'm like 2 years older, so like I was into like Beyblades and shit, and he was into Blue's Clues. But now as an adult, I strangely love Blue's Clues, and I make a lot of Blue's Clues references here and there. So DeSantis was good on that. Censorship of that. My liberal past. Oh, another thing too. This channel, by the way, I've already made this disclaimer multiple times. It's kind of sad that I have to, but it is a conspiracy channel, and there is a lot of anti-Semitism within the conspiracy channel community, not channel. Not in this channel. We're cool. My wife, she's pretty sure she's Hebrew, like bloodline. So I really don't delve into the whole Jews control the world, all that shit. But something that I found interesting is I am anti-Zionist, by the way, though. I can't stand Zionism. To me, that's fucking evil, corrupt bullshit. I know about the Talmud. I already know. I don't like Zionism. I believe America first. I believe that's the only country we should be giving a fuck about. We should take care of ourselves before we start taking care of Israel or Ukraine. Jim Brewer brings this up all the time. I love Jim Brewer, by the way. His podcast is fucking awesome. His stand-up's awesome. Go check him out. He's the dude from Joseph, if you're listening, you'll like this. He's the dude from, what's that Dave Chappelle stoner show back in the day? It was a movie. Fuck. Let me know in the comments if you know. Anyways, he brings up all the time how many of these politicians have dual citizenship of the United States and Israel. So I do keep that in mind. It's real fucking weird. But the reason why I went off on that side rant about DeSantis and that political rant is, do you all remember when he released all these fucking mosquitoes in Florida that were like genetically modified? Pretty sure Bill Gates was behind it. That was one of my big red flags, besides the whole censorship of the First Amendment with DeSantis, you know, was the whole releasing Bill Gates mosquitoes and shit. I didn't like that. So that's why I'm bringing up DeSantis in Florida, because this has already been done before, and they're doing it again in Hawaii. Another thing I don't like about DeSantis is a lot of people don't know this about his past. I was actually surprised to find it out when I was saying, like, hey, I'm a DeSantis supporter. This was, like I said, early on in the race. I was like, yeah, I'm supporting DeSantis. He's getting my vote. Fuck Trump, you know. But I didn't know that he was a jailer at Gitmo. And this is one thing that pisses me off. You guys know that I'm like anti-QAnon now. That's some psycho shit. My mom dated a jailer way back in the day, and she used to tell us like horror stories about how this dude was dating her, that he was physically abusive, like used to smack around on her, not beat the shit out of her, but smack her around. He used to kind of like keep her locked in the house, like she wasn't allowed to leave, wasn't allowed to talk to family members and shit. Apparently the dude was really small. He was a tiny dude, like real skinny, real short, kind of like me, and he had Napoleon complex. Which I ain't gonna lie, I don't think I've ever really suffered from that. Which I'm not super short. I think I'm like 5'4" or something, maybe 5'5". But that's never really bothered me. I ain't gonna lie. I've always gotten with shorter chicks for the most part, or the same height. But I would get with a taller chick. I would love, I love my wife, first of all, but if I was single, I would love to crawl all over some super tall, skinny, like olive oil looking chick, you know? Like Olive Oil from Popeye. A pale brunette, fucking tall as hell. I'd climb all over her like a fucking monkey, dude. Know what I'm saying? Lick them long legs like a freak. God, I'm sorry. I'm a very sexual person. Where was I at? What was I saying? Gitmo. Yeah, so I know firsthand, just not firsthand, but secondhand from hearing my mom's stories of how jailers are kind of psychopaths. And people can go, oh, that's conspiracy, all that bullshit. Well, they did an experiment of jailers, fake jailers in a fake prison scenario with fake inmates. And they had to stop the experiment. We're going to do a deep dive on this, make a whole episode of it. I forget where it's at. I'm pretty sure it was like Connecticut or something. For some reason, I think it's Connecticut. I could be wrong. Like I said, one day we're going to do a deep dive covering it. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But they did an experiment with fake jailers, fake inmates, and they had to stop the experiment because, like, by day 3, the people were so into the actual role playing, and they were so into the acting and so into their roles that they were actually, like, physically and mentally abusing the inmates and shit. Like, it turned into a shit show. And as someone who's been in jail 3 times, there are a couple here and there, mostly women actually, so good job women, who are like sane, sweet, genuinely nice people inside of jails. But most of the men are fucking creeps and like psychos and shit. And I know this from experience. I'm not going to go off the rails and go into it super deep because I'm trying to keep this one around 30 minutes, trying to keep it structured. So that worries me, that he would get that power. And speaking of Napoleon syndrome, he definitely has a touch of that with his height, because he's a short dude and he wears high heels. By the way, I miss the old days of conspiracies, because I've been a conspiracy theorist since like 2010, maybe even longer, because my dad was a conspiracy theorist and I kind of grew up with him telling me conspiracy theories and shit. But I miss the old days of conspiracy when we would have fun conspiracies. Like, do you all know about the DeSantis boot conspiracy, that he wears high heel boots? And like, it's so fucking crazy. We'll have to do a deep dive on it one day as a fun conspiracy episode, because I think it would be a good break from all this dark, sinister, evil shit. But yeah, dude, the Q-tards fucking love Gitmo. And as someone who is an ex-Q-tard, like, I remember Obama trying to shut it down, and I was like, good. And I actually still agree. That's one of the few times that I agree with Obama. That and Obamacare. Like, good. Good. You did one good thing. You tried to shut down Gitmo, you know? And people go, well, Gitmo's good. All the elites are going to get locked up in Gitmo. Or they already are locked up. Or they're already executed in Gitmo. If you're a Q-tard and you believe that shit. No, they're not. I think they would use Gitmo for us. Because if you notice, the FBI, which we talked about last episode, Biden in general, they've all talked about the greatest threat right now is white, conservative, white supremacist, white nationalist, conspiracy theorist. We are now considered like terrorists. And I'm terrified that they're going to shove all of us conspiracy theorists in camps or fucking Gitmo and shit like that. And once you get in Gitmo, a lot of people don't know this, your constitutional rights are stripped. You have no more constitutional rights when you're labeled a terrorist. So, yeah. Can't remember which president signed off on that. Pretty sure it was Obama, but yeah, thanks Obama for shitting on us, you know. That, and I'll never forget, there was a really good movie. I can't remember if it was based off a true story, but it's based off of real scenarios of terrorists who aren't really terrorists. They're just related to terrorists who were locked up in Gitmo. It was like some Middle Eastern guy. The woman who was a jailer was played by the chick who played Edward's girlfriend on Twilight. If you know the movie, hit me up in the comments. I'm giving you guys homework today. Hit me up in the comments of Jim Brewer movie and this movie I'm talking about. It's a really good movie. I just remember the dude was like suicidal. He ended up liking the Harry Potter books for some reason. And it had that chick in it. And it was a really good fucking movie. It showed you like a day in the life of a terrorist locked up in Gitmo and how miserable and horrible it was. And it was an eye-opening movie for me. I've talked about it a couple times on the channel, and I wish I knew the name of it so I could buy it, because it's one of those movies, it teaches a good lesson. Like Hollywood actually did something good for once. So that's my thoughts on DeSantis and QAnon and mosquitoes and the release of mosquitoes in Florida. I'm going to try to keep this all one episode. Let's see. Unjected show today. This is why it was brought to my attention that, by the way, like I said, I'm going to keep bringing up, if you can't watch the whole episode, they released GMO mosquitoes in Florida, and now they're doing it again in Hawaii. So, but now let's talk about it. So now you get the point. So you ain't got to listen to the whole episode if you don't want to, but if you do want to, thanks for staying tuned, and let's continue. I heard about this through an episode of The Unjected, which, by the way, one of my inspirations to get into podcasting was this thing, let me show my age, this thing we had back in the day called talk radio. And one of my favorite talk radio shows was Loveline with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla. Unjected specifically promotes themselves as a conspiracy theory version of Loveline. I first found them through Sam Tripoli. As soon as I heard that, I immediately subscribed, because I am a huge Loveline fan, a huge Loveline nerd. If you guys grew up with 98 Rock down in Florida, you know what I'm talking about. Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla are fucking awesome. And it was an awesome show, Loveline. But it's basically a conspiracy theory version of Loveline. So, awesome shit. I heard about him through Sam Tripoli. Sam Tripoli, let me go a little bit off the rails here. Sam Tripoli had this idea to have a conspiracy theorist dating site. And apparently Unjected had beat him to the punch. So when he first had him on, he's like, "You guys stole my idea." He wasn't mad or nothing. He was just being friendly and nice. And he's like, "After I found out you guys beat me to the punch, I wanted to have you on." And I ain't gonna lie, I still want to make a conspiracy dating website, because And I feel that it would be different. Because Unjected is literally a dating website specifically for those who are unjabbed. They do have interest that you can put whatever conspiracy theories you like, but I would like to create, and if someone steals this idea, go for it, because I stole it off Sam Tripoli. And if I ever did actually patent this and make it into a web dating website, I would give Sam Tripoli his cut, because I'm cool like that. But I was thinking it'd be cool to have a conspiracy dating website to where this is where it would be different from Unjected. Instead of just interests that you click on, it would actually section you out with who you're most compatible with. So all conspiracies would be allowed. If you're a flat earther and that's your most interested conspiracy, I would have it like a percentage of like a list of conspiracies and how interested in each one you are, and how interested the female is. Let's say I'm the male, obviously. How interested in each one of the same conspiracies. It would filter you to whoever is compatible the most as far as conspiracies and obviously fetishes and sexuality and all that shit. Mine too would also be trans friendly. I know I'm a classic liberal and I'm a libtard and you can call me whatever, but mine would be trans friendly. Unjected is not. And mine would be homosexual friendly too. Obviously, I would have barriers on maps and bestiality and shit like that. But I would have it so, like, if you're a flat earther, it would hook you up with flat earthers. If you're a Q-tard, I would even be nice enough to actually include Q-tards. Like, even though I hate QAnon and we all know it's a psyop because we're smarter than that, I would even be nice enough to be like, okay, we could hook the Q-tards up. 9/11 truthers, flat earthers, alien people who are big into aliens, hook them up. People who are big into cryptozoology, hook them up. But that's an idea I have. Like I said, it would be stealing from Sam Tripoli, but I would give credit and obviously give money if I ever did create it. And honestly, I don't see it ever happening. I seen an invention today on television. It was something you hook up to your video game system that emits smells that go along with the game. I actually already created that in my head, but for movies. And I never patented it. So someone out there is making millions right now off of something that I created. And it sucks. I do that all the fucking time. This all connects, so stay with me. Michael Crighton. Whenever they were talking about this on Unjected, because they are based out of Maui and Lahaina, so a lot of their talk is based off of the Maui fires, Lahaina fires, Hawaii types of conspiracy, which is cool. Because I like tuning in because I get to know what's going on in Hawaii. They had mentioned, and I had actually, this is parallel thinking, and I had multiple synchronicities go on. That's why I know this episode is meant to be. My intuition levels are up. Remember, life is an RPG. And that's because I've been dabbling in witchcraft and divination and shit. So you feel it. You feel it when it's coming on. You see more synchronicities in life and shit, and everything just starts fitting together. I do witchcraft every day, man. Hawaii. Where was I going? Oh, the synchronicity was I'd always said this for years. I've always said that movies, like, I feel like as the masses, we watch movies and actually learn lessons from them. Like when I watched Jurassic Park or Terminator, I go, oh, let's not do that. But I feel like the elites, these psychopaths who control the world, go, oh yes, very good movie. Let us do that. Now we know what not to do. That's my elite accent. And one of the co-hosts had brought it up, and I've always used Jurassic Park as a perfect example of like, let's not play God. This is what happens when you play God, when you're genetically modifying mosquitoes into overtime. I want to get a bell for my car, and I want to get a clown horn. I'm going to start doing some props and sound effects because I think it would keep the channel exciting. I think it would make the channel better. Anyways, Michael Crighton. Does anyone know much about Michael Crighton? And I want to do an episode on Michael Crighton because, and I need to, honestly, as a bookworm, I want to start reading Michael Crichton. Maybe that's something we can do, kind of like how I'm doing a Leave the World Behind series. Maybe I could do a Jurassic Park series because there is a lot of stuff that I believe is conspiratorial, and a lot of stuff that he was predicting back then that we're doing now. And I believe he also created Westworld, which that we're going to look into Westworld because I hear all these conspiracy channels bringing up Westworld and Handmaid's Tale. So I need to check out those two series and review them and talk about them because all these conspiracy channels keep talking about it. I still haven't seen them, and it's conspiracy related. I think you guys would enjoy it. But Westworld, the whole concept is everyone kept saying this is Epstein Island. It's like you're rich people that go to this island. I'm probably butchering the premise, but it's a fake Western, and you like kill robot cowboys so you can live in a Western movie. You can be a cowboy if you pay a certain amount. They drop you off on this island and you live like a cowboy, you know, whether a sheriff or an outlaw, like choose your own adventure, basically. That's the concept I got out of it. And I was like, dude, this sounds like human hunting parties that the elites do in the Black Forest or like Epstein Island. Pay a certain price, you can get whatever you want. Like live action simulations that the elites do, which I truly believe they actually do. And I think that's been going on for hundreds of years. I think that's why you see like these old kings and princes going to battle. I think that they were so bored with their elite lifestyle that they're like, I'm going to have battle today, honey. And they would just go out to battle and just slay people to get their rocks off, you know? I don't see that as an act of heroicness. I see it as an act of evilness, carnality, whatever. But we need to do a deep dive on Michael Crichton, like what his ties are. I'm not saying this is not accusatory towards Michael Crichton. He could be an awesome dude and just have his third eye open. He might even be a conspiracy theorist. He might be a good guy, be one of us, you know? Because I know a lot of people think just because you write this shit, you're in the club. And it's like, no. I've done episodes on Alex Hirsch. I did an episode on Alex Hirsch and Dan Brown. Go check that episode out. I really don't. Everyone says Dan Brown's Illuminati and a piece of shit. And he's even admitted, like, he made his movies to explore conspiracy, like Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. And he likes conspiracy theories. And he wants to also put out a warning of like, hey, this is what CERN's trying to do, you know, People are like, oh, see, he's inside, he's in on it, you know, he's evil. And it's like, no, he's not. He's a good guy, dude. But sadly, this community is toxic. So I'm not saying this is an attack on Michael Crighton. I just want to dig deeper, and I want to see his connections and see if, in my opinion, he's one of us and a cool guy who's just interested in conspiracies and shit. But I think there's a lot there. And also another synchronicity too with the whole genetically modified mosquitoes. And they mentioned Jurassic Park on how we shouldn't play God. If you think about it, dude, I was pouring myself a cup of coffee and I went, mosquitoes, Jurassic Park. And I kept thinking, what is the connection? If you remember in the movie, it all started with a fucking mosquito that was trapped in the amber on the end of the cane of the professor guy. It all started from a mosquito, an ancient mosquito from prehistoric time. And I'm like, holy shit, it all comes back around full circle. Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm seeing signs in shit. I don't know. I think there's something to it. But they're genetically modifying mosquitoes with a bacteria, as far as I know. I don't know the name of the bacteria off the top of my head. Go look it up. To basically make the mosquitoes sterile, and it's like birth control for mosquitoes. So the mosquito will mate with the genetically modified one, and it'll like sterilize the male and make it to where they don't breed anymore and they're sterile, you know. Now, I feel like I shouldn't even have to say this. I feel like this is common fucking sense. But ecosystem, ecology. I remember being a child in kindergarten learning about ecology, basic ecology of everything affects everything. If you take out a certain species, it will affect another species because it is their food group. To me, this is common sense of, let's not kill mosquitoes even though they suck. I hate mosquitoes. They're literal vampires that fly around and they give diseases. If you believe in non-terrain theory, virology, I guess. They give diseases. They're a nuisance. It hurts when you get bit by one. It itches later. I hate mosquitoes. That's like one of the few bugs that I actually purposely kill. Most bugs I don't. I let flies do their thing. I let gnats do their thing. Most bugs I really don't kill. Except for like roaches and fucking mosquitoes, because they're evil. But I do understand that God put them here for a reason, because, I don't know, frogs eat mosquitoes? And then you have to go down the chain. What eat frogs? I'm not going to go into ecology super deep, because I should figure that you learned this all in kindergarten like I did with a Florida education. I hope you understand what ecology is. I'm not an ecologist. I'm not going to focus on ecology. I focus on talking shit and talking conspiracy, because that's what this channel is, baby. But yeah, I figure this is common sense of, let's not kill an entire species of insect, because it could literally destroy the ecosystem, at least locally. They're fucking with Hawaii so much, dude, and Florida. And my theory, my conspiracy theory, is why they fuck with Florida is because, in my heart of hearts, I truly do believe DeSantis, he's not perfect, and he is wrong on a lot of shit. But I truly do believe that, like Trump, he's a wild card, and he's bucking the system. This is why I truly believe there's factions. And like I said, there's a lot of shit he does that I don't like, but I don't think that he's like Illuminati or evil, or I think there is factions that are warring with each other. And I think DeSantis overall is a decent, good human being. I think he's wrong, but I think his heart's in the right place. So I think that's why they're fucking with Florida. That, and they know Florida and Texas would secede in 2 seconds. They've already talked about secession if there ever is a civil war. Which, by the way, a lot of people are saying Civil War, the movie, is a sequel to Leave the World Behind. Shameless plug. When we get finished watching and reviewing and reading Leave the World Behind, I'm going to watch and review Civil War. It's an unofficial sequel. Let's see. Movies, though. Let's go back to movies. I was talking about how the elites watch the movies and never learn the lesson from movies, because I do believe movies are a good medium for teaching lessons. I was talking about American History X the other day with some coworkers. That's a really good movie. It teaches a good lesson. I've always said it should be played in schools, like high schools. Jurassic Park's a really good lesson. I don't believe in dinosaurs. I believe in dragons. I'm a non-Christian creationist, which I created that term and identify as that. You can ask me questions about it. I'll tell you exactly what it means. I'm a non-Christian creationist. I believe in dragons. So there is a part of me that would be like, hey, it would be kind of cool if they brought back from DNA dragons, thinking they're dinosaurs, so they think it's going to come out looking like a T-Rex and it comes out looking like a Chinese dragon. Or a medieval European dragon with wings and bat wings and shit, and they're like, what the fuck? This was supposed to be a T-Rex. Destroy it! We can't let them know that there's dragons, you know. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. We'll do a whole episode on that. Dinosaurs and dragons and my belief system on that. I am out there, by the way. For people to say that I'm not deep enough, you know, I'm a strange dude when it comes to conspiracies. You would be surprised what I believe in and what I don't believe in. Now, it could be that these movies like Jurassic Park are predictive programming, and it could be the occult law and rule of revelation of the method. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, not going to sidetrack this crazy train, because I did a whole episode literally called Predictive Programming, Revelation of the Method. It's something along those lines. It's a recent episode. Go watch that episode if you want to go into a deep dive on what that means. My only theory, and I'm going to end it with this, and I almost agree with it, is maybe this is a Luciferian philosophy, because unless I'm wrong, and unless my teachings from my father were wrong, when Eve and Adam bit the apple, that God kind of turned nature on mankind, and he made thorns and itchy plants and poison plants, and made animals bite and sting humans, turn against us in a way. And from what I was told as a kid, because I had the existential question of, why are mosquitoes here in the first place? They're useless, they're evil. And my dad always told me that the Bible says that God put them here to make us suffer because we bit the apple. That's how I was raised. I've read the Bible 6 times. I kind of remember hearing stuff like that from my reading. I could be wrong. I'll do some more research, but I'm pretty sure in the Bible it says that God put certain animals and certain plants and shit. Like, there's a whole Bible verse about a snake biting a heel, Adam's heel. It's like a curse. And we're also cursed to work, toil the fields, and suffer. I'm not going to get into that whole debate philosophically, religiously, spiritually. That's a whole nother episode. We're not going to go, God is evil, the devil's good, none of that bullshit. But I do understand maybe that this playing God in destroying the mosquitoes is a spit in the face of the Christian God Jehovah. Gnostically or Luciferian mindset, philosophy, maybe they're literally playing God because they're like, Lucifer wanted to be God, now we are God. We're playing God. Like Jurassic Park. And also it could be a spit in the face of God of like, oh, you put certain animals here to torture us because we bit the apple. Now we're going to take out entire species of specific animals who were always a plague to us. Because you got to admit, even the elites are getting bit by mosquitoes. So it makes sense. I'm going to end it with this. There is talk about mosquitoes being literal vaccines. I think we've already covered that in one of my previous episodes. Pretty sure it's scientifically proven too, and I'm pretty sure they admitted that they want to make mosquitoes into flying, living vaccines. We could go so much deeper and so much longer. I think I pretty much covered it. There's your warning. That's what's going on in Hawaii. They're releasing genetically modified mosquitoes. The mainstream story is it's birth control, but we all know there could be other uses for them like vaccinations. And that gets into a whole nother debate of people's right to choose getting medicated and shit like that. And we've already talked about before about them injecting apples for people who have religious paths to where they can't get injected because it's piercing their skin is their temple, blah blah blah. So they've actually found loopholes of they inject vaccines into fruit and make someone eat the fruit in front of them. Evil fucking shit. They have found every loophole how to vaccinate you through food, which we've covered that on evil plants and shit. I think the episode was called Diet for a New World Order. A lot of this shit, I keep shouting out old episodes because I've already talked about this and I don't want to go back down that rabbit hole. I don't want this to be a 3-hour episode. I just wanted to make it short enough to where you're getting the info of what I think about DeSantis and genetically modified mosquitoes that are being released in Hawaii. That's what's going on. Keep your eye out. And there are court cases going on right now. Listen to that episode of Unjected. They go deeper into it and they cover stuff that I didn't cover. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And please stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe.